morning everyone. My name is Glenn Esmond. Thanks for tuning in. So today is the second in a series of playthroughs that I'm going to be doing of the Butterfly Effect material. Today is The Cell, the second track from the self-titled EP from 2001. It sounds like it should be simple, but it's got a lot of great stuff going on harmonically. Before we start talking about actual parts, I wanted to have a quick touch on some theory that is going on in the song. Now, a scale is just a series of pitches in a certain order, certain intervals between each note. You might have heard the term modes before. Now, modes are just taking a given scale and rearranging the intervals to make a new scale. All the notes in the cell and the guitar melodies and the vocal melodies come from this D flat major scale. I reckon just the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Yeah, heard a million times before. Now, the interesting thing about this is that each section of the song plays around with the bass notes and stuff that's underneath those melody notes, and it gives each section a different modal feel. Now, I'm not going to go into how to construct modes or any of the theory behind it. There's a couple of great resources which I'll link to. Rick Beato has an Everything Music channel, and he goes through modes. The link I've put down below is like an overview, and he's got plenty of other stuff if you want to get into it. And I also, my first introduction to modes was Frank Gambale's instructional video from like the early 90s or late 80s called Modes, No More Mystery. So I would check both of those out for an overview of modes. So each mode has a certain flavor to it, and there are some essential notes in each one of those modes that give it that flavor. The vocal is constantly highlighting the modal notes, highlighting the Locrian notes in the verse, highlighting the Lydian notes in the pre-chorus, and then the minor notes in the middle section and the outro. So yeah, it's super clever. I have no idea, so it's great. So let's get onto the verse and have a look at some of the parts. I'm going to do the verse on the guitar, but you know, as I'm not the guitarist in the band clearly, and I don't know all the guitar parts, and so I'm just going to give a quick overview on the guitar, and then I'll play the rest of the song on the bass. So it starts this E flat add 9 chord, and it slides to the C5. I'm pretty sure it doesn't even strike the chord the second time, it just slides off. But then the cool thing is he brings in this little G flat note in the chord, which sort of makes this E flat into an E flat minor. So, like, so there you go, and then the vocal melody is playing around with the C to D flat sound, which is that Lydian sound Locrian sound as I mentioned. Yeah, and it just repeats those chords a bunch of times until we get to the first pre-chorus. So let me play through this section, and you can see what I mean. Okay, so that's the verse. Pretty straightforward. Okay, on to the pre-chorus. Now the pre-chorus slides up to this G flat add 9 chord on the guitar. Same sort of shape as the first chord in the verse. The vocals. You know I know. That's the sharp 4 of that G sharp chord, so that G flat chord. So that means that sharp 4 is what's bringing that Lydian sound to it. when it slides up, it goes up into this B flat minor chord, and that's where the song, once it gets to that point for the second or third chorus before the middle section, it stays in that key for the rest of the song. We'll break down the middle section in a bit, but so I'll play through both of those sections. If anything comes up, I'll let you know. But, the other thing of interest there is that 1 to 10 slide that happens on the first couple of rounds, and then just like every second round after that. Then that repeats, that section, then the verse repeats again, pre-chorus, chorus. And then we get into the middle section. Actually, before we go into the middle section, another thing of note, just from a bass playing perspective, it's important, I find, live when I play that, to really lock into the drums. So when we get into that rhythm in the chorus, so the drums are dum da ba dum da dum da ba dum da ba dum da dum. So following that on the bass, I actually almost imagine the bass as being a bit of a drum kit. So I'm playing the bass drum part on the low strings, and then I'm playing an upper octave matching the snare drum, and we kind of really lock in. And that becomes important later on for the middle section, because the middle section features 4 rounds, 8 rounds, however you'd count it. And every time the drums kind of build in intensity, and the vocals build in intensity as well. And from a bass playing perspective, I always try and match Benny's tom hits, or his hi-hat open hits that he does, so that we're both on the same page rhythmically. And it took a little while to really lock into that, you know, and make sure that my part changes as it goes, because the drums change as it goes. And the only other interesting thing about the middle section is the bass plays these little chords, which are really nice. Let's play through the last chorus and through the middle section, and then we can have a chat about the last section of the song, the outro. That note, but so there we go, it's the middle section. Of course, now you can't talk about the cell without talking about this amazing outro, this performance from Clint. I I had to listen to it this morning, try to figure out how many layers of vocals there are there. There's at least, I think, at least 3 or 4. It's the one part that I really wish I had the multi-tracks to have a listen back to, which I don't have. Just a classic showstopper and live, amazing, you know. That's the cell. Thanks for tuning in. Please do the usual subscribe, etc. I hate saying it, but I've got to do it. Yeah, we'll see you back here soon for some more playthroughs. Thanks, everyone.